Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today, my guest is Jimmie Bush Jr., a young man who was born in St. Petersburg, Florida on January 16th, 1991. He played sports and sang all his life. He learned to play the guitar, the saxophone, and the drums, 3 instruments which are not easy. So I want to welcome to my show Jimmie Bush Jr.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm fine. And, you know, Jimmie, you played so many sports for the Merced Blue Devils and in that college in California. And now your music is being played on these radio stations from the universities you attended. You know, you're a young man, so I want to know how did you start, and tell our audience what it was like to be young, growing up in St. Petersburg, and then learning to play so many instruments.
Well, I started to play instruments probably when I was in middle school, and I started out playing the saxophone, and that really helped me to read music and learn the keys and everything like that. So I decided to pick up the guitar and the drums along the way. And I think about halfway through high school, my dad encouraged me to start singing because he used to be a singer. And I kind of played with it a little bit here and there in high school. Didn't take it too seriously because I was playing football at the time. And once high school was over, I went to college, and I played college ball for a little while. And then came back home, and then just out of the blue, decided to try to make this a career, and so far it's working out really well.
Well, it sounds like it's working out well, and you're playing the music that ranges from Tom Jones to Engelbert Humperdinck to the Temptations and a little bit of country, standards, and ballads. I think that's amazing. Now, which do you really like the best?
I'd probably have to say Tom Jones.
Now, explain to our audience why Tom Jones.
I think the early Tom Jones from 65 to about 71, 72 were probably what I'd look up to the most, because during around that time, vocally, I don't think there was nobody that could compete with him. He was just a pure vocalist, and every other little thing he did was extra, but I don't think nobody could really sing like that. He had an opera-type voice, and he sang pop and rock, and it's just really amazing to see somebody do that with a lot of soul and everything. So that kind of made me more interested in that the most.
Well, you know, Jimmie, it's a little unusual for someone your age to be interested in singing the works of Jones and Humperdinck and, of course, the Temptations. And so I'm just curious, do you like to sing what is really the music of young people today, and that is rap, and that is hip-hop, and all those other kinds of music?
I listen to a little bit, but I don't really mess with that too much. I'm not really into the rap or hip-hop or anything, because there's just so many people that try to get into it. It's kind of like a mockery almost. And what I do is not a lot of people do. There's only a few people right now that I could think of, like Michael Bublé and Josh Groban and a couple other handful of people that are doing it. And hardly anybody my age is singing the songs I am, so I'm kind of in a league of my own.
Mm-hmm. And so how does an audience of young people respond to you?
They respond really well. A lot of the times they don't know what I'm singing, but they like how I'm singing it. So that kind of attracts them, because they see me and they think, oh, he's going to do something, modern. And then I come out with the power ballads and like, wow, we weren't expecting that at all.
And so, can I put you on the spot for a moment? I know that it's in the morning right now, and also I didn't prepare you for this, but I'd just be curious. Can you just give us one little verse of one of the songs of, say, Tom Jones?
Sure. The old hometown looks the same as I step down from the train. And there to meet me is my mama and papa.
Oh, wow. That's really beautiful. Now, I think it reminds me really, truly of Tom Jones. Well, now, let's talk about something else. You have you're a young man, as we mentioned, and I'd like to know a little bit more and tell our audience about your background, because, we discussed the fact that, of course, you grew up playing 3 instruments and you played sports in high school, but what else sort of sets you apart from others?
Well, I always like to say my work ethic. Football really helped me with dealing with the things that come along with the entertainment business. I played left tackle in football, and that is the second most important position besides the quarterback, because if the quarterback gets sacked, it's most likely on you, so the spotlight is always on you, and people are always watching. So I think dealing with that type of pressure and how hard I had to work to get to that spot, I've taken everything I've learned from football and applied it to singing. And there's a couple people, I think, in the music business right now that have played sports before and went to singing. But I don't know if they've taken things that they've learned in that sport and applied it to singing, but that's what I'm doing, and it's working out pretty well.
Now, is this something that you expect to do for your future, or are you going to have a plan B? For example, if your music is popular, but and you're in such a competitive field, so, and if you can't make it, or are you making it right now? Because I really want our audience to know that you've entered a very difficult field.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell me, do you have a plan B?
Yeah, I have a plan B, C. I have job offers and things like that waiting for me. But this is working out really well, and I've jumped so far in such a short time to where it's almost unheard of. But I've worked really hard to get where I am right now. And I feel like a year and a half ago, I was doing the festivals and American Legions around in my area, and now just in the short amount of time, I'm headlining at the Metropolitan Room in New York, and they don't let just anybody in there. So I've been blessed enough to work hard and get to where I really want to be.
Yes, and you mentioned the Metropolitan Room, which is generally a jazz club, isn't it?
Yeah, jazz cabaret type venue.
Mm-hmm. And so what other places do you expect to play in?
Well, I think down the line I kind of see myself in Vegas with the real power ballads and the style that I do. I see myself in Vegas at some point.
Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about your musical stylings. You know, we discussed the fact that you loved Tom Jones and Engelbert Humperdinck, but talk to our audience about what it means when we use the expression musical stylings.
I think it comes down to the way you sing. There's Tom Jones, he's full out, and he could tone it down just enough to where it's like, okay, you know, that's really nice. And then Engelbert is really smooth, and he's always on top of the note, and he just flows really well. So I kind of try to put the two together, and it seems to be working really well. But I try to take a little bit of everybody and put them into one.
Do you read music?
I do.
And do you see yourself composing music?
That's one thing I've always thought about, but never really gave a real chance. I think later on down the line, I might think about it, but right now I'm more focused on just singing and trying to get my voice out there to be heard.
Yeah. So now, what kind of influence did your family have on you? Because it's not every family who has a son who wants to be a musician. And in fact, when they do have a son or a daughter who wants to do that, they really, they don't encourage it because it's such a tough field. Yeah.
Well, my father used to be a singer, so I guess the influence has always been there. So I kind of grew up on the things that he sang, like Engelbert, and so it just kind of grew on me, and I just started singing it one day, and I didn't sound half bad for not singing that style of song, so I just worked on it, and it just kind of came to me naturally.
Yeah. And so what is your practice method? How many hours a day do you spend?
It depends. On certain days, I'll mostly spend about 3.5, 4 hours researching songs that I might like to sing, and then I'll spend a couple days listening to them through the headphones to memorize the words and get the sound and pitch of their voice right, and then the next time I'll spend about 2-3 hours vocalizing the song and the timing and everything, so there's a lot that goes into it, but I mostly just try to run, keep my diaphragm strong, and just really study the music. Basically 4 to 5 hours.
Wow.
Minimum.
That's a lot of hours to study. Now, here's something else that I'm interested in, and that is, how do you find when you're practicing, how do you keep your voice intact? 4 to 5 hours each day is a lot of time to use your vocal cords. And so if you had some advice to give some young singers like yourself, what would you tell them about keeping healthy?
Definitely run, because that will help your lung power and your dictation, although people may not think it won't, but it does. Honey water and cough drops will be your best friend.
Is that what you do to keep your throat intact?
Yeah, I'll probably sing for about an hour, then I'll take a half-hour, 45-minute break, drink some honey water, and have a couple cough drops, and then just get right back into it.
Okay, so again, I think it would be great if you gave us another little verse, maybe this time from Engelbert Humperdinck. Would you do that for us now?
Sure. Let me think of something.
Okay.
Blue Spanish eyes, teardrops are falling from your Spanish eyes.
Well, we don't have Spanish eyes, but we can really appreciate listening to you again. Now, let's talk about your future goals, because you must have many.
Oh, yeah. Let's say within 5 years, hopefully, I have a couple number ones, and I'd like to sell out football stadiums.
Football stadiums? That's like 10,000 people.
Yep. I believe anybody that tries to pursue something like this to a professional level, they always want to be the best, and I think when you're selling out football stadiums, at that point, you're one of the best.
Well, that's it. Now, have you ever met any of the people whom you have talked about, and have you met other singers who have really motivated you to play in front of 10,000 people? Who is your favorite?
My favorite singer?
Yeah, and entertainer.
I'd have to say singer, Tom Jones for sure. And I think as entertainer goes, probably Elvis, because apparently all he had to do was just be on stage and the concert sold out.
Yeah. And so if you were to talk to a lot of people who are interested in getting involved in your occupation, what would you say to them?
Don't listen to what everybody tells you. Do what you believe is right, and just work hard. And if you work hard enough, it'll come to you. And just stay focused and don't give up.
That's pretty good advice. Now, in terms of your music, where can people get some of your music? Or do you have any CDs or anything that you'd like to tell our audience about?
Well, I have tracks that they could listen to on SoundCloud.com/Jimmie5. And if they want to keep up with me and my events, they could go to my Facebook page, George Bettinger and Jimmie Bush Jr., or they could go to Jimmie Bush Jr. on Facebook.
Yes. So where are you performing next?
Well, this weekend I will be performing in New York at the Metropolitan Room at 7 o'clock.
And after that?
Well, I have things based off on a schedule. So if things go really good in New York, I'll probably stick around in there for a little while. But if not, I have things down here in Florida coming up. So it all kind of varies.
Yeah. And now you have another life too, I'm sure. And in this world, there are so many things that you can do besides your career. So, are you doing or pursuing anything else?
Not right at the moment. Like I said, I have my plan Bs and my plan Cs. But right now, I'm giving the singing everything I have, and it seems to be paying off really well, so I'm just going to keep sticking with it.
And last but not least, if you were to tell young people exactly what you're doing and give them advice, what advice would you give them?
Well, I'd probably have to say just do what you believe in. And if it's something that you really want, don't let anybody stop you, and just go after it full force.
That's it. Well, my guest today has been Jimmie Bush Jr., a musician and a singer, and somebody who's going to be big time soon. So I want to thank Jimmie for being on the Susan Brender Show.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show.